We're going to predict every game of Maryland's football schedule.
You are Locked On Terps, your daily podcast on the Maryland Terps, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What's up, everyone? I'm Tre Moore, host of Locked On Terps, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So thank you guys for making us part of your day. And today's season is around the corner. Visit FanDuel app today and start planning your future bets now. Maryland football, we are going to predict every game of this coming season for Maryland football. So I like to do this. I think I've done this a couple times, maybe one or two times so far. But this is the final prediction. So this is going to be my final prediction. Now knowing everything about the team, now having a really good idea where this team stands, who the guys are going to be, who the starters are going to be. And obviously, we don't know quite everything yet. Like Mike Loxley's yet to name a quarterback one, who are actually expecting, I think, to be named. I think we'll know on Monday maybe who the quarterback is going to be this coming Monday before game week. And I would guess because the preparation standpoint, getting reps with the one. So I think we might learn on Monday who that's going to be. But there's a lot of different things that we have learned over the past month or so, month or two, where now I feel like I can really give you guys my prediction. And I've seen other people do this, predicting every game of Maryland's season so far this year. And so some things before we start to keep in mind is Maryland's win total was at 4.5 on a lot of the betting websites. So that's kind of our win total. So Vegas is expecting us to be at about 4.5 wins. Obviously, you can't have 4.5 wins. So around that 4 or 5 win mark is where we're expecting to be. Obviously, 6 wins gets us to a bowl. 8 wins is the most under Mike Loxley. So just a couple things to keep keep things in mind in terms of benchmarks. But I do think we want to be a bowl team for sure. I think that's a goal for this team. So really getting the 6 wins to me, I feel like would be good enough for this Maryland team. Honestly, getting to 6 wins, I think would get the job done for Mike Loxley for this year, especially with the youth of this team and everything. And I'm not trying to go ahead and tell you guys this is the best team in the Big Ten, but let's get into it. So we start week 1, which is actually now pretty close. College football is just around the corner. Saturday, October 30th, 12 p.m. game time against FAU at home. I think Maryland wins this game. We probably should. I think the line's 16. I'm going to say we win the game by 20 points. We're going to have a prediction actually next week about the game. There's going to be someone from FAU Media that comes on here. We're going to preview that game, but Maryland shouldn't really have any trouble with this game against Florida Atlantic. I think this is a reasonable, easy game to win at home. There's not too much to say. I don't know a ton about them, but I do have a basic understanding that Maryland's way more talented. We're the Big Ten team, and we get them at home. If we lose this game and we start 0-1, a lot of people are going to start asking a lot of different questions about Maryland football. So that should be an easy 1-0 type of game. I don't have any expectation for us to lose this game. And then the next week, it's actually a night game at home against Northern Illinois, September 5th. So that's an interesting one. The September 5th game is an interesting one. I think that's a Friday game, if I'm not mistaken. But Northern Illinois, if we remember, I always bring this up. They did beat Notre Dame last year, which is kind of weird. It's still trying to figure out how Notre Dame loses to Northern Illinois. But that's just to say you can't take this team. You can't take this team for granted. We can't just think, oh, it's Northern Illinois, we're going to win this game. And even though I'm probably going to say this, the people on the actual team need to hopefully lock into that game because you just don't know what can happen. And I keep bringing up the fact they beat Notre Dame. It just feels kind of weird to me. I'm like, oh, they beat Notre Dame? It's just weird. But overall, in terms of their grand scheme of the games that they played last year, like they kept some big-time opponents close. Like NC State only beat them by 7 points. Buffalo's pretty good, only beat them by 3. Northern Illinois beat number 5 Notre Dame. Like they kept a lot of different things close, and they beat Fresno State in their bowl game. So definitely a team that could be interesting, but I'm going to say Maryland gets to 2-0, and that's our first 2 games in our out-of-conference. Not really expecting a close game there either. They could definitely give us an interesting look, but I'm expecting Maryland to win that game against Northern Illinois. And then September 13th, we get back to playing on a Saturday, and we get Towson on September 13th. So Towson, there's not too much to say. Obviously, a local type of team at home again. There's no reason we lose to Towson. There's no reason. There's not really an opportunity. Like, we're going to have to play our worst game we possibly could, and Towson's going to have to play their best game they possibly could. And even if that happened, we still might win the game by 7 or 14 points. So I don't see a world where we lose Towson, and I don't see really us losing in the first 3 games. We want to start 3-0. That's going to be really big for our bowl chances. So I'm going to predict Maryland to start 3-0 in the non-conference. I'm expecting it to go hopefully smoothly. Hopefully we have a somewhat of a rhythm. We know who the quarterback is, and we're feeling decent about ourselves heading into our first conference game against Wisconsin, September 20th, out on the road, our first road test. So I think we beat Wisconsin, and I'm going to give you guys a realistic prediction. I will, but I think we beat this Wisconsin team. When I think about it in this Wisconsin team overall, first of all, and when we look at their talent, they're not like a top 10 talented team in the Big Ten right now. Like, I think they're a similarly talented team than us. I just think our edge comes in a couple different areas. They have Alabama and Michigan smacked, or we're right in between them playing Alabama and Michigan. Like, they play Alabama in Michigan, right? They play Alabama before us, Michigan after us. Like, that's an easy look-ahead spot / could be banged up from Alabama. I like playing them after. And then we all know we have the scout on Billy Edwards. You can't tell me Mike Locksley isn't going to have a lot of familiarity with Billy Edwards. I think that's a game that we are totally going to have the opportunity to win. So I'm going to predict Maryland to start 4-0. And then we have a Washington team. They have they have a good quarterback, pretty good team at home. I'm going to say that's our first loss, and that's a loss that we take to Washington. I think it'll be a close game on October 4th, but I don't think we start. I can't see us starting 5-0. So I'm going to say we lose to Washington to go to 4-1 on the season, and then we get Nebraska at home as well. And Nebraska looks good this year. I think they're a top 25 team. I think they're more talented than us. I think it could be close, but Dylan Raiola is elite. I think he's going to be really good this year and make a jump. Their freshman quarterback last year, 5-star rated kid, I think he makes a jump. They brought in some guys. I think we lose to Nebraska to go to 4-2. So 4-2, not terrible, but you got a lot of the easy games out the way. But definitely not the worst thing in the world to be at 4-2. And then October 18th, you play UCLA. Now, I think UCLA is going to be better and improved. I'm going to predict we beat UCLA on the road. I think that's going to be a big road game for us. That will move us to 5-2 on October 18th. I just think they're a tad bit overrated. And watching I was bored, summer, you don't have a ton to do always. I was watching some Tennessee football, and I'm like, Nico, I'm not going to try and pronounce his last name, who's the now quarterback at UCLA. He wasn't that good a lot of last year. I was just curious. It's like, well, okay, what does this kid look like? I was like, I know he's a 5-star rated prospect, but I just think that's a game that we can win. I think they're a little bit overrated. So that would put us at 5-2 heading into Indiana November 1st. I'm going to say we lose to Indiana. They're a talented team this year. We get them at home. That's definitely a possibility we win. But I'm going to say we lose and move to 5-3. They're a top 20 team this year. They brought in this new quarterback. We get to see Roman Hemby. We get to see Kellen Wyatt. We get to see a bunch of guys that said, I like Indiana football more than Maryland football. I'm going to transfer there. So that'll be interesting. I'll say Roman Hemby's time is done. But a guy like Kellen Wyatt, I thought we had good use still for Kellen Wyatt, but decided to go to Indiana. So I'll say they get the better of us to move to 5-3 on the year. And then an interesting one, November 8th on the road against Rutgers. I think we beat Rutgers. I don't think they're that good. I think there's some. I don't even want to say they're overrated. Like they're a bottom Big Ten team. I just don't. I see us winning this game on November 8th. I see us winning this game at Rutgers, even though it's on the road. So I have us winning 2 Big Ten road games, which could be big. Actually, 3, which might not be the best prediction, but interesting things happen in these seasons. So I'm going to say that we beat Rutgers to move to 6-3. Now, this is where I think it gets tough, and ending the season could be interesting. I think Illinois, November 15th on the road, I think we lose that. Luke Altmaier, Illinois, they look like they're going to be a really good team this year. I did say we're going to have the chance to upset Indiana or Illinois. I'm just going to not predict it to happen in these predictions. So I think we lose to Illinois to move to 6-4. I just think on the road, Illinois, their team's good. What are they, 11th in the nation, or 12th, I think. They're in their preseason top 25. They're a good team. November 22nd at Michigan comes to us. They had trouble beating us, but I'm going to say that they end up squeaking it out again for us to get to 6-5. So we are bowl eligible heading into our last game of the season, but to be fair, if we look at the schedule, this Michigan State game could easily decide whether we are in a bowl this year. And I think with Aiden Childs, they're interesting. I think they have a solid team. I don't know if I'd say they're better than us necessarily. I think they have a little bit more than us in terms of returning production, some interesting players. But that Michigan State game really could be to get to 6 wins. Obviously, we already have 6 wins at this point, how I calculate it. But if you take out one of those wins, that Michigan State game, and maybe that's a bold take of mine, that Michigan State game will decide whether we're in a bowl game or not. I think that could really end up happening. And so Michigan State on the road, November 29th, last game of the year, hopefully not. I'm going to say we lose it to be at 6-6 on the road. I think East Lansing's a hard place to play. So 6-6, I think most Maryland fans at this point, I don't want to say would take it, but you wouldn't be too angry with how people are predicting us. Just getting back to a bowl game, I think is important. If we look at the schedule and have the easiest Big Ten schedule and can't get to a bowl game, I just think that really hurts us in terms of recruiting and some other things. So I do think it's important for us to get to a bowl game here, but I think 6-6 isn't the worst thing in the world. So that's me predicting every game of Maryland's 2025 season, and hopefully that ends up being somewhat correct, or we get more wins. Hopefully not less. But let's talk about position group rankings. I'm going to rank every position group on Maryland football's team from best to worst. I'll do that next. Guys, you've probably heard of Viagra. Maybe you've even tried them. But if you're looking for something beyond the usual pill, it's time to meet Rougiette Ready. Rougiette Ready is the next-gen prescription treatment designed to amplify arousal in the brain and boost blood flow. Unlike the usual pills that can take hours, Rougiette is a 3-in-1 formula and dissolves under your tongue and kicks in fast and on average in 15 minutes. Effects can last up to 36 hours, so you can stay confident and control when the moment is right. If traditional options haven't worked, Rougiette might be the answer. Over 150,000 men have already made the switch. I love that it's completely online. Rougiette connects you with the board-certified doctors and ships you treatment discreetly to your door. You can even read real customer reviews on their site. It's helping a lot of people feel more confident and present in the moment. Head to rougiette.com/lockedoncollege and use code lockedoncollege to get 50% off. That's RUGIET.com/lockedoncollege and use promo code lockedoncollege for 15% off. Individual results may vary with prescription treatment. Compound drugs are permitted to be prescribed under federal law, but are not FDA approved and do not undergo FDA safety, effectiveness, or manufacturing reviews. Please visit the Rougiette website for full safety information. Okay, so I have never done this before, and I keep going a little bit long in the first segment, but that's fine. I'm going to predict I'm going to rank every single position group for Maryland football from best to worst. And so I thought this would be an interesting activity. I'm going to come up with the ranking on the spot. But let's start with the first. I think it's easier for me to start with the best position group, and I still kind of go back and forth. I'm going to still say that the best or the best position group I might have just given away on this Maryland football team is the receiving room. Honestly, I think if Jaleel Farouk is returning to how he is at Oklahoma and Octavian Smith takes a jump, which I think it's reasonable expectations for him to take a jump. I don't think that's like a bold take with how much production he got last year, how good we think he can be. I think that's reasonable to think Octavian can take a jump. And then somebody else emerges in a bunch of talented players, whether it's Caleb Webb, whether it's Ryan Manning, Shalik Knotts, Kai White. Like, it's deep. There's a lot of good players there. I think it's our best position group when I really go down the roster, just because I think two of our best guys, Jaleel and Octavian Smith, are two of the best players. And so then I continue down the line. The next position group I think right now is the best, and I'll group this into one, is actually the secondary. I think the secondary could be really good. I think it has potentially our best player in Jaylen Huskey, who I'm going to talk about a little bit more in the third segment. I think he's our best player right now, arguably. And then I think the two transfers, Jamar Glasgow and Dante Joyner from Arkansas State and Wake Forest at the corner spot, really makes that an attractive corner duo. And then it's like, okay, you have those guys, but then you have two guys under them, two young, high-level recruited guys in Braden Lee and Kevin Humes that you're also really excited about that could end up being really good for Maryland football. So it's like, okay, that's a lot of depth. That's a lot of position players that you feel good about for that Maryland position group. So to me, they're number two. Number three, it's not really the position group in general. I just think at tight end, Dorian Fleming arguably could be our best offensive weapon. That I have to put him number three. I'm not in love with the depth under him, but I just think he could be an all-conference player. So it's hard for me not to put him at three. And I do think I think JT Target has some potential. Leon Hunt Jr. could be interesting. I don't see us running a ton of two tight end sets this year, but I do think Dorian Fleming, just because of how good he potentially could be. And then number four to me is the running back room. I think Nolan Wright could be really good this year. I still try and figure him out in the rest of the room, but I do think Nolan Wright could potentially have a huge impact for the Terps next year and end up being one of our better players. So to me, he's at number four. We'll continue talking about my rankings. Next, we'll continue going through it, and I'll finally rank them after this message. If you're running a business, every missed call is money left on the table. Think about the last time you needed a service. If the first person didn't answer, did you wait? Probably not. You moved on. That's why you need OpenPhone, so you never miss an opportunity to connect with your customers. OpenPhone is the #1 business phone system designed to streamline and scale your customers' communications. Do you juggle two phones just to keep business and personal calls separate? OpenPhone solved that instantly. Your whole team can share one number, can respond to customers like a shared inbox. No more who's handling this. And the AI agent handles after-hour calls, answers common questions, and captures leads. So I never miss a customer again. See why over 60,000 businesses trust OpenPhone. They're offering Locked On listeners 20% off your first 6 months at openphone.com/LockedOnCollege. That's openphone.com/LockedOnCollege. They'll never even port over your existing number for free. OpenPhone. No missed calls, no missed customers. This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks, the daily fantasy platform that lets you turn your football predictions into real rewards. Preseason is already heating up and college football isn't far behind. Whether you got your eye on a big name quarterback or a breakout running back, Prize Picks makes it easy to get in the game. There's different discounts, especially for this weekend's game. You can do Avery Johnson max discount Saturday, August 23rd, 9 a.m. versus Iowa State, 0.5 passing yards. I'm sure you guys will want to do this. There's also a discount on Dak Prescott on Thursday Night Football on September 4th versus the Philadelphia Eagles for 0.5 passing yards. Joe Burrow, Saquon Barkley, Josh Allen. There's so many different things, so many different players. Prize Picks is simple to play. Just pick more than or less than on 2 to 6 player staff projections. And if you get your pick right, you could cash in and win up to 2,000 times your money. I've used Prize Picks for a few seasons now, and I love how simple it is. And I can get a lineup before the coffee finishes brewing. The flex play option is a total game changer. And even when one of your picks misses, you still doubled your money. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code LOCKEDONCollege to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONCollege to get $50 in lineups after your first $5 play. Prize Picks, run your game. So I'm going to finish ranking this position group. We're going to talk about Jaylen Huskey, but we can do that tomorrow. And him getting named to an award list. Nothing huge. We can talk about that tomorrow, but I wanted to finish this segment because I thought it was kind of funny and interesting. So I think we were at number 4. We were at the running backs at number 4 with Nolan Ray and co. I think Nolan Ray can be really good. I also think he could end up being average this year. I think he has the potential to be really good, but we still have to see with him. I think he's at our number 4 because we did receivers, and we did corners, and we did tight end. Yeah. All right. So now we're at number 5 on the list. I'm going to go actually with Maryland's linebacking core at number 5. I think it's a talented group with Trey Reddick. I think he was our best freshman last year. Michael Harris in the middle. Daniel Wingate's one of our best defenders. DJ Samuels has been there. Sidney Stewart is making a lot of a big name for himself. Zahir Mathis was a 4-star freshman. I think to me they're number 5, and you could argue them honestly a little bit earlier as well. And then number 6, I'm going to actually go to Malik Washington in the quarterback room. I think this is a Malik Washington thing. I think if he's what we think he is, I think they deserve number 6 and could end up being like top 3 this year in position groups for Maryland football. We obviously think Malik is going to be really good for us. We think he's going to be one of our better players, but I think overall the room's good. I like Justin Martin as a backup. I like Christian Martin as a backup as well. And Christian's done some really good things, especially in the spring game. So I do think that they're number 6. You could argue them higher. Maybe you could argue them lower because nobody has showed anything. But I think they're number 6. So this is the back end of it. This is when it gets hard. I think we still have the D ends, the D tackles, and then we still have the offensive line. I'm going to say the defensive tackles are next. I just think there's so many different archetype player types in that defensive line room, whether it's Dylan Fontes, Cam Rice, Joel Starlings from UNC, Ian Thomas coming in, Cedric Smith, Bryce Jenkins, the freshman, Demetri Nichols. There's a lot of different bodies in that room that I feel like they're next on the list at number 7. And honestly, I kind of am excited to see what they could do, but nobody has really proven. There's a lot more depth than there has been, but I don't know exactly how that's going to work. I forget what number I'm on, but the next person on the list, offensive line, I'm like, how are they going to be all right? I don't have confidence in them being solid. I don't really have confidence in them being any good, but we're going to hope that they end up being all right. We're going to hope that they end up being decent. I don't think anyone's really expecting them to be crazy. I don't think anyone wants them to be crazy good. I think we just want them to be okay in the middle of the pack. Like out of the Big Ten teams, if we had the 11th ranked offensive line, I don't think I would complain too much. Or the 10th ranked offensive line, I don't think I would complain. Now, it's the fact that we've been at the bottom every year. So it's like you would think rock bottom, the only way is up, but you just don't know with this offensive line group. There's definitely returning talent. There's definitely players there that we like, but we'll see how that ends up going. And the last group, I think, is the defensive end group. This gets a little bit wobbly with who you're considering an outside linebacker type or a linebacker and defensive end. But in terms of defensive end, I'm thinking about Neo Avery, Daniel Owens, D.D. Holmes coming in. And then you could also say guys like Sidney Stewart are really defensive ends, but we'll keep them in the linebacker spot. But I just think of them and I'm like, I don't know what to expect. Neo Avery, every year I have been saying he's going to make a jump, but really hasn't. And then D.D. Holmes, I think coming from Florida State could end up being really good, but I just don't really know with that room. And so that's kind of why I have to rank them last. They don't have any production while not having anyone that I've heard is standing out. But that's all we have for today. Thank you guys for listening to Locked On Terps. Make sure you like and subscribe. We're here every day talking Maryland football, basketball. So thank you guys for listening to Locked On Terps.